We previously talked about what's going on with cells as we grow old. And there is this concept of that is called X-Differentiation. So this means that basically, we have our cells, we have our embryonic stem cells when we're an embryo, and then they differentiate into cells that are supposed to be in their final form. This means that they're what we're calling terminally differentiated cells. For example, neurons are such cells. Yes. They don't differentiate anymore. They don't multiply. So they don't divide. So we have a certain amount of neurons in our brain, and there are other processes going on in the brain, and we have the oligodendrocytes and astrocytes and other cells that are regulating and maintaining the human brain, and those could be replaced. But neurons, they're basically terminally differentiated cells, and then they don't divide anymore. So, they're quite lengthy as well, especially we're talking about motor neurons. Now, if we're saying that they're terminally differentiated and they don't change their shape anymore and their properties anymore, what's going on as we grow old though? What we have noticed is a phenomenon that is called X-Differentiation, which means that we have a cell that has all of these different properties and functions, and it has its cellular identity. It knows that it's a neuron. But with time, as our epigenetic regulation becomes, let's say, more loose, for example, Sirtuins, so they're very important genes, and they have a very important role in our cells. They're NAD-dependent deacetylases, which means that they take acetyl groups from the DNA and they remove it, and they basically play a major role in epigenetic regulation, which genes will be expressed at any given moment within a cell. However, this is only one function of the sirtuin genes, and then they have another function, which is the firefighting function, which is when we have a DNA break somewhere in our chromosomes, they will go on the side of the DNA break and they will try to repair it. They actually do this job multiple times a day, like thousands of times per day, because we do have different DNA breaks in our chromosomes all the time from different stimuli. Maybe it's even from sunlight, for example. This is a very simple example. They do the firefighting maintenance, and then they're doing the epigenetic maintenance as well within the cell. But as the time goes by and these sirtuins are moving back and forth in order to make sure that everything is correct, sometimes they're just becoming, let's say, a bit more forgetful, and then they don't remember which side they need to return to. And this means that our epigenetic regulation becomes less and less efficient. The consequence of this is that our cells are actually losing their identity as they grow old. So this means, let's say they have, a neuron basically forgets that it's a neuron. So now, because the epigenetics are not regulated tightly, and then there are some genes that are not packed very tightly, and now this gene starts being expressed, but this is actually a liver function gene. So the neuron doesn't know what's going on, and it forgot that it needs to be only neurons. So then there will be some other functions activated. So then the cell gets really confused, and the next stage of this process is actually senescence. And this is where the cell says, okay, you know what? I don't even know what I am anymore. I don't even know what I need to do.
I don't know what I am anymore.
It has an existential crisis. It stops replicating itself because it says, okay, you know what? Something is wrong here, and I don't want to get cancer as well. So I'll just stop replicating, and I'll just be a senescent cell that does not replicate anymore. So now I'm becoming useless. And now I start secreting all these inflammatory cytokines, turning neighboring cells into senescent cells as well, into zombie cells that just stand in there. This is why we have different supplements that are basically senolytics, or what we call xenomorphics, basically modulating senescent cells, so not necessarily killing them. We want xenomorphics. We want a compound that would actually just make the cell feel better.
I'm running down to like the last few neurons up there. We need to revive as many as possible.
Honestly, I feel like my brain is quite fried after the PhD as well.
I bet.
Hey everybody, this was a part of my ongoing conversations with Dr. Seranova. Please take a look at the links below. There is a discount code there if you'd like to order some of NMN from NMN Bio.